Hashtag the HOA president's long goodbye. I spent 2 years playing dumb while gathering evidence against the most corrupt man in my neighborhood. And when I finally dropped the hammer on him, he lost everything, his position, his house, and his reputation. All because he underestimated a guy with a filing cabinet and a lot of patience. Let me back up. When I first moved into this suburban neighborhood, I thought I'd found paradise. Quiet streets, well-maintained homes, the kind of place where you could actually relax on a weekend. Then I met the HOA president. We'll call him Todd. And that's when everything changed. Todd was exactly the kind of guy you don't want running anything. He loved having power, loved it, but he absolutely hated being held accountable for what he did with it. He had this smirk, you know. The kind that made it clear he thought he was untouchable. And the rules he enforced? They were insane. We're talking $200 fines for leaving your trash can out literally 1 minute past 9 a.m. I watched him fine a retired couple $150 because their flower bed was supposedly 2 inches over the property line. Meanwhile, Todd's own yard looked like a construction site. Unpermitted structures everywhere. His fence was 3 feet taller than city ordinances allowed. But nobody dared call him out on it. That was the thing about Todd, he made sure everyone knew he was in charge. The real problem, though, he wasn't just a bully. He was a thief. I found that out the hard way. My fence got stained a slightly different color than the approved option. Not because I was trying to break the rules, the contractor's original stain wasn't available anymore. So I provided receipts, documentation, everything. I went to Todd, explained the situation, and asked if we could work something out. You know what he did? He fined me $500. $500. For a fence stain. When I pushed back, showed him the receipts, explained that I'd literally done everything right, he just smiled. That smirk. Rules are rules, he said, and walked away. Just like that. That's when something clicked in my head. I wasn't going to fight him with anger or public arguments or any of that messy stuff. No. I was going to take him down the right way. Legally. Methodically. And in a way he'd never see coming. So I joined the HOA board. I volunteered, told everyone I wanted to get more involved in the community. Everyone seemed thrilled to have fresh blood. Todd especially didn't think twice about it. Why would he? I was just some new guy who'd gotten frustrated about a fine. How threatening could I possibly be? For 2 years, I became invisible. I attended every single meeting. Every one. I sat in the back, took detailed notes, and watched how Todd operated. And what I saw was a masterclass in manipulation. He controlled the board by intimidating the other members. He'd bury them in paperwork, push votes through when only his allies were present, and conveniently lose any documents that came from people who disagreed with him. It was actually kind of impressive how thorough he was about it. But I wasn't there to admire his technique. I was learning his system. And I was waiting. The breakthrough came when I started digging into the finances. Todd never shut up about how well he managed the HOA's money. He'd bring it up constantly, like it was his greatest achievement. The annual fees were high, way higher than in similar neighborhoods, but somehow, nothing ever actually got fixed. The community pool was closed half the summer for maintenance issues. The landscaping looked like it hadn't been touched in months. The tennis courts had cracks you could lose a shoe in. None of it made sense. So I asked Todd for the budget. During a meeting, completely straightforward. And you know what happened? He laughed. He literally laughed at me. Said, "Don't worry, I've got it under control," like I was some kind of idiot who couldn't be trusted with facts. I filed a formal request. Under HOA rules, he had to provide it. He stalled. Weeks went by with nothing. So I started talking to the neighbors. That's when things got really interesting. It turned out I wasn't the only one who'd gotten suspicious about Todd's finances. Over a dozen homeowners had requested access to the budget over the years. 12 people. And Todd had ignored every single one of them. One neighbor told me he was convinced Todd had used HOA funds to install a brand new patio at his own house. Another swore she'd seen Todd's kids swimming at the community pool during its maintenance closure. I compiled everything. Every complaint, every suspicion, every ignored request. And then I filed a formal complaint with the board, forcing Todd to provide those financial records. He couldn't dodge anymore. When he finally handed them over, I knew I had him. The documents were a complete mess. And I mean chaos. Invoices were missing pages. Payments were mislabeled. There were expenses that made no sense at all. $15,000 for landscaping fees, paid to a company that didn't actually exist. Thousands and thousands spent on administrative costs, with zero explanation. I got obsessive about it. I spent nights cross-referencing the HOA's bank statements with public records. And then I found it, the smoking gun. Todd was funneling money directly into his personal accounts. Not a little bit. Not some gray area stuff that you could argue about. Straight up embezzlement. But here's where it gets better. I discovered Todd wasn't working alone. He had a buddy, a shady contractor who handled most of the HOA's maintenance work. These two were a team. Todd would inflate the contractor's fees, pocket the difference, and they'd split the profits. It was a full-on scheme, and the evidence was all right there in the numbers. I spent weeks putting together a report. Spreadsheets, bank statements, photos, notarized statements from neighbors who'd witnessed Todd's antics. Everything was documented. Everything was bulletproof. Then I waited for the annual HOA meeting. Now, normally, these meetings were boring as hell. Maybe 15 people would show up, mostly just board members and the elderly folks who had nothing better to do. Todd would drone on about budgets and regulations, and everyone would just want to go home. But this time was different. This time, I made sure the neighborhood knew to show up. I spent 2 weeks knocking on doors. I didn't show everyone my full report, that would have been too obvious. Just enough information to get people angry and curious. Just enough to make them want answers. And it worked. The night of the meeting, the room was absolutely packed. There had to be 70, 80 people there. Todd showed up, and I could see something in his face change. He knew something was wrong, but he had no idea how badly he was about to get hit. He started the meeting like usual. Talking about how difficult it was to manage the HOA. How much he'd sacrificed for the community. All this stuff designed to make him sound noble. Selfless. And then I stood up. I asked him, very calmly, very politely, if he could explain some discrepancies in the budget. I just asked a question. That was all. Todd laughed, that same nervous laugh from before, and said, "I don't think this is the time or place for that." And I said, "Actually, Todd, I think it's the perfect time." I started handing out copies of my report. Printed out, organized, ready to go. I had enough for everyone in that room. And as people started reading, everything changed. At first, there was just silence. Then whispering. Then people started getting louder. Angry. Someone shouted, "Is this for real?" Someone else started pointing at the financial documents. Todd tried to regain control, tried to shut it down, but nobody was listening to him anymore. I called for a vote to remove him as president. It wasn't even close. By the end of that night, Todd was gone. Finished. Done. But this is where the real justice came in. After Todd was removed, we hired an independent auditor to go through the entire HOA's finances. And they confirmed everything. Every single thing I'd found. Todd had embezzled over $50,000. Another $50,000 had been mismanaged through fraudulent contractor payments and fake expenses. We're talking massive amounts of money that had just disappeared. We reported him to the police. We filed a civil lawsuit to recover the stolen funds. And Todd couldn't just disappear. He had to answer for what he'd done. His contractor buddy, exposed and banned from doing business in the county. No one would work with him. His reputation was destroyed. Todd, meanwhile, had to sell his house to pay restitution and legal fees. He couldn't afford to fight the lawsuit and make things right at the same time. The choice was made for him. And once his name got out there, nobody wanted anything to do with him professionally. He became a cautionary tale. A joke. He moved to a neighboring town, tried to join another HOA board, I kid you not, and the second someone Googled his name, he was laughed out of the room. Meanwhile, we completely restructured the HOA to make sure something like this could never happen again. Term limits for the president. Multiple board members have to approve any financial decisions now. And we created an online portal so every single homeowner can access the budget, meeting minutes, everything. Transparency. Accountability. The things Todd never wanted. Today, when I walk past Todd's old house, it's owned by a lovely family. The pool is open year-round now. The landscaping is beautiful. The tennis courts are repaired. And the HOA fees? They're lower than they've ever been. Because turns out, when you're not embezzling money, you have way more money to actually use on what you're supposed to be spending it on. The thing I learned from all of this is simple: patience beats anger every single time. Todd thought he could bully and steal his way through life. But in the end, it wasn't screaming or confrontation that took him down. It was just the truth, carefully documented, and delivered at exactly the right moment.